everybody, this is Barbara Powell again, Barbara Powell Art Studio. Today I'm going to take you through some brush strokes on how doing trees. We're going to do some pine trees and we'll do a regular tree. First I'm going to go ahead and make a little island coming down across here so I have a place to put those trees. I'm going to use my 1-inch flat brush and I'm going to pull down dark. Remember, I can pull down a little bit of blue, black, brown, and I'm brush mixing. And by pounding this in, I'm actually getting all these colors together. So I need some place that we're going to do a tree. So I'm just going to dab maybe a little tiny island down here. And it can go all the way across or it can stop where you want. Once I get that, then I can fill this in. I'm only concerned about getting dark color here right now at this point. Detail would come later. So we always want to start out with dark, and that is because to show light colors, I've got to have some dark in place. As we get down to the very end, we always like to keep these corners quite dark to keep our interest in the middle of the picture. So I wouldn't want to leave this really bright with any kind of bright detail thing on the corner if I want people to see in the center of that. So I placed this here so I can show you some of these really nice trees to do. And the first one I'm going to do, first you need to get some dark green started. So I'm taking this black and all the green and the brown and I'm kind of mixing them together with this palette knife. And it's very nice to just have a really dark base here, because if I come back to highlight, I need that really dark color to show the light. So I'm going to use this really, one of my favorite brushes is the fan brush. And the whole idea is to really get this fully loaded. I find with my students, they don't really take the time to really keep this brush loaded, to really do a nice pine tree. I have fully loaded that all the way on both sides. So I will place this down here. And to start out, let's put a large pine tree up here. And we can just pull down a line, it gives you an idea. Now, I'm only going to start out using the point of this brush, and I'm just going to dot, always going back to this line, which I consider my trunk of that pine tree. I start out very small here, and as I come down, I drop down, and I'm dropping down, and I'm going in slow motion here to kind of show you this, because it actually, when you go faster, it's just a little bit easier, but I want to really make sure you understand what I'm doing. So I'm pointing this little edge right here, and think of how trees grow. There's all kind of pine trees, and as you get down to the end, I know I'm getting lighter, so now that is when you know to come back and refill this. A lot of people try to do one whole pine tree with one load, and it gets really light at the bottom, and the bottom of the tree is always darker than the top. So I'm coming here right at the trunk again, and I'm going to hold this, because, and now I'm going to start putting pressure. I'm really wanting this really dark on the bottom. And I'm coming down, and I can go all the way down. I can come back and darken this one where I ran out of paint a little bit. Now, that is basically just done with a sort of a V, and you're just going back and forth like this, always dropping down for this type of tree. But if you want to put a trunk in it, it's very nice to use one of these palette knives like we had again. And for sake of being able to see it better, I'm just going to use a light color here for you. Really, you would probably more use a darker brown. But for you to see this better, I'm going to go ahead and show you. I can come here and just put a little trunk in here. And if I get it too large, now, that would have more likely be really dark brown. But I can go back with my little fan brush. Say you put that in and oh, you thought, oh my God, that's just not right. You can actually take your fan brush and cut some of that out. and it's very easy to make just a little bit here and there show through. Because with a pine tree you might see a space and then it skips a space and goes down. But one of the nice things to do with this knife, and it's a clean knife, I can actually, without putting that in there, say I wanted a beautiful peak on this, I'm actually sawing and I'm cutting in, and I can bring up a beautiful point, very nice tall point on that pine tree. That is one of the ways to do a tree. Now, if I was going to do a regular tree with a lot of different bushes in it, I would go ahead and use the same brush here, and I'm going to go ahead and pull down, say there would be another type of tree, I'm going to pull down the trunk like this. Remember I told you how you can make really straight lines on that? And I don't have the brown here, I'm going to go ahead and get black. And watch, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take this knife and pull, 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 pull. And I'm just pulling a trunk. And I can make it thicker, always at the bottom. Let it come right up to a smaller area. You can, actually I would use, when I do arms, and if I do big arms, you can actually use this if you just kind of slide some up here, and you can come over here, put some up. But if I really wanted some really thin arms, I would use a liner brush or something small that I can get a very narrow width on the trunk. Now, this is nice where you can make this a little bit and just have it come up. I'm bringing this, I'm going to leave less pressure, lighter way. Let this come right off. And I'm pulling very light. I'm not putting a lot of pressure. You can just see, I just want these to be very thin, light, and you can pick up some of the paint you already have here. Bring it down, put your little feet to hold that tree up. Remember, that trunk has to be thicker here to hold this part of the tree up. So if I have that really thick limb there, I need to have a little bit more width on this tree. But this is, say I put some of these in, I really didn't like all these where I put them, I can come back and show you how we can cover some of our mistakes. So there's a tree done with a knife and also a small bristle brush, and this happens to be the Filbert. Now, if I want to put a lot of different color foliage in that tree, I would go ahead and pick up all my colors here. And you see how I'm loading this 1-inch brush? I'm actually pulling it down, forcing that paint. And I'm going to grab some of these other colors, even though I'm going to just the red. Red is a good color to dull your green if you want to have a more subdued green. So I actually pulled this brush and I'm going to turn it over. And you can see it's kind of like turned over a little bit. And so I can come up here and I can put all kind of, I'm just touching, I can make all kind of different kind of little areas where it looks like there's all kind of leaves, thousands of little leaves pinning out. And this is what I would do for this type of tree. I can also use another brush to make a more rounder tree instead of these. What I'm trying to do is get all these little tiny hairs to come off so this tree looks like it has thousands of little leaves. And you can see how I'm just bending this brush and I get all these little strokes. And you always want to go over part of the trunk. I wouldn't just put this over one side of the tree, because trees don't grow that way. They will have foliage even coming out from that limb covering part of that trunk. So you can see, and this is also a good way to put, like if I had more paint on this, see, I would be pushing little brush areas like this. This helps set this tree down, so we don't want it to look like it's just floating, so I'm actually forcing that. And of course I would have darker paint there. So to get your highlights, this is where you would need to just wipe a little bit of that off. This is liquid white, and that is titanium white with a little bit of medium in it. And this is where I would pick up, and I already have green on here, so picking some of this up, brings it over here into the yellow. And I'm still loading my brush like this, pulling down hard to force those bristles so they're rounded like that. So see, all I'm doing is forcing that this way, turning my brush over, and then I'll go up and I'm going to highlight this. And I don't ever want to get rid of all the dark, okay? So I'm trying to hit the top of some of these colors. I don't want to just get rid of all the dark on this tree. But it's the same technique where I'm just pushing up like this. See how I'm getting some highlights on the grasses there? Just by, it's sort of like a little dog leg turned over. So you're always rounding that brush, turning it over, and then just over here. It's not like it's a high push. Okay, even here I can put a bush right in front of that tree there. So this is just one part of some trees we can do. There's many, many trees I can show you. I do want to get into a birch tree in one of my later videos, which is very fun to do and you really enjoy it. So I hope this helps you in showing you what you can do with just a fan brush and maybe a 1-inch brush, and how you load your brush to get this technique. So join in again. I hope to see you again. And this is Barbara Powell. Thank you for looking.